Welcome to Stan Cat. Stan now considers all things. What is the good life? The good life. Some might answer that it's cars and a home and a beautiful spouse or a handsome spouse, kids, money in the checking account, lying on the beach in Santa Cruz. But what do we hear with answers like that to the what is it to have a good life? I think we hear American culture talking. Those things, lying on the beach in Santa Cruz, free time, retirement money, those aren't the good life. Those might be the means to get to the good life. Some of you might be thinking, okay, what I really need then is 2 cars and 2 houses, maybe 2 wives. No, that's silly. The good life is more than the abundance of things. Best analogy I know is a hot fudge sundae or whatever else turns you on gastronomically. Is a hot fudge sundae your destiny? Is that your goal in life? A hot fudge sundae can fill you, but it can't fulfill you. It's not the stuff we can point to. Gee, I got a great rocking chair here. Oh, I got a good life. It's not awards, not degrees. It's not having a bunch of free time. That's not the good life. It's not living necessarily a long life. It's not necessarily being well liked. I can think of many people whom I considered having lived a good life, who have had a short life, who have not had much money, who have not had much free time at all, and yet they've had the good life. Now, there's certainly things in life we have to do. We've got to make a living, we've got to commute, we've got to brush our teeth, we've got to feed the cat. But those aren't the things that fulfill. Those aren't the things that make us more of what we can be. You've heard of the story possibly of a fellow who works till the age of 65, he retires, and then he dies. He doesn't know what to do with himself. That's the good life, is to be lived all of your life that you can, found through understanding, and to be well educated. That is to have read the great texts and to think about them, to seek understanding. That is more the key, that kind of knowledge and understanding, than memorizing baseball scores. Foreign languages. You don't see much of that emphasized in school nowadays. Back in the old days, they used to study Latin and Greek a lot for being a well-educated person. But most of the stuff that's in Latin and Greek has been translated pretty well into English. Nowadays, in schools, it's German or French or Spanish for the most part that I've seen. If you want science background, my take is German first and maybe French second. If you want to study Spanish, for example, if you were going to work in human services in California, you'd study Spanish. So I want to give you just one little tip that they don't mention in schools much, it doesn't seem, on how to study a foreign language painlessly. For example, I have a German book here. I try and read in German. And it's a book by Pearl S. Buck, The Good Earth, Die gute Erde. Now, when I try and read this thing in German, it's been so long since I've taken a course in the rest, I found I had to take and get a big, heavy dictionary, like a Cell's, and look up every other word. That's a pain. My suggestion is the following. Get a book. I got this out of a Goodwill, Savers, something like that. Get them pretty cheap. And then get the English translation, The Good Earth. I open them both up. I read in the German. When I get to a spot I don't understand, which is most of the sentences, then I look in the English, and it's much easier that way. You can pick up a lot of vocabulary, 15 minutes a day, and whatever language you choose will blossom. When I was a reporter on the school newspaper at the University of California, Berkeley, I once did an interview with a Nobel laureate. And in my article, I included an organic chem formula, the diagram, as part of my article. After it was published, one fellow student of mine was really shocked. He loved it. It was weird, he said. An organic chem diagram? In a school newspaper? It was a sort of a stab at educational material in a most unexpected place. So often we think of education as something where we place it in a little ghetto, all of its own. Education, we think, is what we do to children between the ages of 6 and 18 or 21. You know, we picture it as classrooms with teachers lecturing, taking tests. And the goal of kids is, understandably, they just need to get through the system. They got to get the grades, they've got to get the credits, they've got to get the diploma. That's the result of the way that we look at education. Students can sense that, and they go and do the appropriate thing. One person said once it was that we stuff our students like sausages. But the heart of education is growing as an individual. From classrooms to tennis courts to chapel. Intellectual, physical, and moral growth are all a part of education. But does education stop at the border to a college campus or a high school campus? To be well educated doesn't mean that I've gone to a good school. That isn't what well-educated means. To be well-educated means that you are able to take charge of your own education, especially after school is over for you. Education at its best isn't a system, it's a lifestyle. It means that as an adult, making choices, sometimes tough choices. It is easier to watch football on television rather than, say, watching C-SPAN on television. I've done it. It is fairly easy never to darken a public library or a bookstore. After all, who will ever know? That is, unless you happen to open your mouth. The 40-year-old who has just watched sports and news on television since graduation days, that individual sounds different than the one who hasn't just been coasting for the last 20 years. And what's true of intellectual growth is also true of physical and moral growth. Education is a lifestyle. Making choices. Hard choices. In the physical realm, you can choose smoking or being a couch potato. Or in the moral realm, you can choose lying, stealing, and cheating. Where you are at the age of 40 depends so much on what you've done with your brain, your body, and your soul since graduation.
English usage. It's important that you use the words right and the punctuation right. And tonight, we are going to look at the dash. The dash. It looks like this. It's nice and long, a dash is. It's like long when you type it. When you type it on a typewriter, a dash, you type hyphen, hyphen, 2 of them to make a dash. Those people that make short dashes with only 1 hyphen, 1 little dash of the pinky, are making their dashes too short. And so we want to illustrate, look at if you have a dash that's only half as long, or even a quarter long. This is fun. No. Dashes indicate a sharp turn in thought. A sharp turn in thought, that's a dash. Yeah, let me give you an example right on the screen. Poof, here it is. I made the sentence up myself. I was ready to become a soldier. They said I'd be good for me, but I discovered I'd rather write poetry. You see the stuff in the middle? It's a change in thought, a sharp turn in the sentence, like this. Yeah. Now let's look at this sentence very closely as I leave it up here on the screen. Now, please notice 3 things. 1, that the little wordy poos that are on both sides of the dash are right smack dab up against the dash. There is no spacing away from the neighboring words. You don't write a word and then a space and then a dash and then a space and then a word. Not if you want to do it the regular right way. The wordies crawl right up next to the dash. Secondly, notice that there is not just a little hyphen, but a nice long dash. I did it myself with my word processor. Yeah, I use WordPerfect 6 today. That's my stuff, so I write Control W, typographical symbols, type 4-34, boom, ooh, I got a dash. Now, if you use a different word processor, you use a little different keystrokes to get your typographical symbols, but you can get them. Thirdly, please notice that there are 2 dashes because this little interjection, they said it'd be good for me, was in the middle of the sentence. Don't write a dash in the first one, the interjection, and then a comma. Use 2 dashes, 1 on either side. Dashes are like an emphatic comma. An emphatic comma. I like saying that. Oh, an emphatic comma. That's a dash. Please use dashes sparingly. Some publishing companies don't even allow you to use any dashes at all, hardly. If you use a lot, one book I was reading said that it would look like you were scatterbrained. Now, here's how that same sentence I wrote all by myself would look on a typewriter. You see the 2 hyphens? The words still get right up next to the little 2 hyphens, the dash. They're all the same stuff. Now, if you want to have a gentler interruption, the dash is an emphatic comma. Use parentheses. They're more gentle. Dashes are the emphatic way. Now, when Englishmen said, dash it all, man, dash it all, they were not referring to using lots of dashes. You remember that?